But ultimately right now, I think there's so many shot creators, including Nick Smith, who made his debut for Arkansas, 6'5", 184 pounds, 18 years old, top high school recruit. Last week against San Jose State, 16 points on 6 of 14, 3 of 5 from 3, 5 assists, 0 turnovers. And then he had a big game last night, 22 points, 3 assists, 1 of 4 from 3. Also 6 of 14, got to the line a bunch to get that point total. What are your first impressions of Nick Smith, Kyle? He was your guy, first week of our podcast. You had mentioned them. What do you think about his first 2 games so far?
He's still my guy. I mean, he's showing all the things that I like. You're talking about like spatial intelligence and cutting and things like that. Nick doesn't really miss those opportunities. I mean, he just is a natural bucket getter scorer type that can go on or off. And I think that his like spatial sense really lines up well and like bolsters his like, he's just got that funky little bag of like little tricky ways that he scores. I know that sounds like ambiguous, like cop out kind of thing in lieu of being specific, but he just has that floater game. He just has all these ways that he nickel and dimes you with buckets. And I think that like, that's why he's going to be an effective player. Because we talked about last year, how Keegan stretched the defense. He stretched their attention span because he was such a good cutter. I think Nick has that in his game. I thought last night he kind of had this frantic energy at times. I thought or I forget if it was 2 nights ago or last night, but it's all a blur. But he did kind of have that like nervous, frantic energy. Like, I'm back. I gotta go. And he was just kind of going 100 miles an hour. Did you feel that way?
Oh yeah. Very speedy, right? It was sped up. It seemed like, making some poor decisions as a shooter, forcing some shots, especially as he got into the lane. I like him. I don't love him. I don't think I like him as much as you do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like him a lot. I thought that he challenged groups of defenders a couple times in a way that was a little silly. He just seemed a little eager to, this is a different thing, but I mean, you remember when like Clay came back and he was like really excited to get going again?
Yeah,
we definitely had a couple, like a month and a half where it was just like, Clay, chill a little bit. Like just ease into it. It was kind of, I've gotten a sense that maybe Nick's sitting out. He's just eager to get going and help Arkansas for sure.
How good is he as a shooter though? I mean, we're talking like both those games, 6 of 14 from the field. Is he a knockdown guy? Is he a above average shooter? I think that's my big question with him as a player. Like how great is this kid actually as a shooter?
I think he's pretty good. I think he's got to let the game come to him, though. I think it's all connected. Like he was just taking weird transition threes. I think if he lets the game come to him, I think he could be easily a 35 to 40% shooter in the NBA. And I mean, I wouldn't put it past him to have some 40s, honestly. I think he's a pretty good shooter, and I expect that to translate. Like off the dribble, I think off the catch, just as long as he plays within himself.
I mean, it's early. We're all able to change our opinions, but right now I like Anthony Black more, his teammate.
Okay.
Anthony Black just strikes me more as this guy is a 10-year NBA vet. Like he's the guy who you watch him. Like in that same, I think it was, I forget which game it was. It was at UNC Greensboro, where he had this like pick and roll on the left side of the floor. I mean, we talked about like snaking, like showing that feel for the game. He goes from right to left, hesitation move, snakes towards the middle of the floor, and at this point, like the screening big was sealing off Black's man, right? And it's a smaller defender, so Black recognized this, makes a jump pass high where only his teammate could catch it, and it resulted in 2 points. And it was just one of those, this guy's showing off a hesitation, spatial awareness, good playmaking ability, all in one. It's just one of those little moments where you see what he can be as a passer, never mind the scoring ability, clutch, plays hard, defends. Anthony Black just has the better all-around game to me than Nick Smith, but maybe this is just, he's had more reps. He also got off to a slower start before he did really well in Maui. Maybe Nick Smith does start to slow down and figures it out, but right now, like at this particular moment, I prefer Black over Smith. How about you, Kyle?
I'm still Smith. I just think the shooting, I believe in it more. I think it's one of those either or, but it doesn't mean I want to push one off and down a trap door and never to be seen again. It's kind of like I just one over the other, instead of but whatever. Yeah, I think with Black, I think you're right. I mean, he does show some. I don't want to don't want to get struck by lightning blasphemy thing because this guy's been so good and I don't believe in him in the same way because of the shooting stuff. But like kind of the Halliburton feel kind of thing, like whenever, you would watch Halliburton do simple kind of read react stuff like that. I mean, Black has that kind of herky jerky odd. Somebody posted the other day somebody posted some of his physical traits that he has some start stop arrhythmic kind of stuff that's interesting that makes him more difficult to guard despite not being an elite athlete. He has a lot of that stuff. I still prefer Smith, and I think once he slows down, I think he's going to be the leader of that team.
So that's the key thing you're watching for from him this season, then, is slowing down, because we know he can create space, right? So it's just, is there anything else that people, when they tune into Arkansas, should be watching for from Nick Smith?
I think the playmaking growth. I believe in
which ties to the slowing down aspect, right?
Exactly. It's all interconnected. It really is. So like, I believe in the scoring growth. I think that it'll draw attention. I think he'll have opportunities to draw too. He'll have opportunities. He didn't seize them because of his eagerness the other night. And that's just what we're talking about. Like he's so excited. Just slow down, see when you draw into, see the opportunities. They're both good players, man. Like we said last week. I know we talked a lot about Arkansas already on this pod, but they have interesting players, and he's a good one.
The interesting thing with Nick Smith is the fact that he kind of fits into that Jaden Hardy style bucket as a scoring player. Hardy is a top 5 high school recruit, goes to the G League Ignite, stinks, and falls all the way to 37. Like, I think it's the right decision for guys to play, especially for Nick Smith. He's got a loaded roster. They could go all the way and win the freaking championship. Like, he should play. But like you see, Shaden Sharp doesn't play, goes number 7. Darius Garland plays 5 games in college, goes number 5. There are benefits to remaining a mystery. I mean, we've seen players drop time and time and time again after being elite high school recruits and then playing in college. Is there risk for a guy with Nick Smith's qualities to play this year at Arkansas, or like, is he the type of guy that you feel like it's very safe for him to play in this year's draft class, and there's only like something to gain to become maybe the number 3 pick if he does, improve in the ways that you're talking about with his feel and passing and pace of play?
I've thought a lot about this since we put this. I think this is one of the more interesting conversations surrounding the draft and development in general. I'm generally always in favor of playing, just because I think reps. I said it earlier in the pod. I think reps. I just got
to get out there and just start shooting.
Well, I'm hesitating. I don't think this person would ever hear this.
Nobody passes me the ball.
Well, I was playing at the gym the other day, and there was this kid who was always in there working out by himself, and he has his phone like propped up, and I'm like watching him. I kind of just sneaking glances at him, like watching this workout. And we've had a couple of instances where we've been like, "Hey, man, we need another. Do you want to play?" And he's told us, "No, I have to work out." And after it happened like the 3rd time, I was like, I couldn't help it. I mean, I'm like 20 years older than this kid. I was like, dude, you need to be playing. I was like, you should come play. I was like, you're always over here by yourself. I was like, and then he comes out there playing. He doesn't know how to play. And I was like, I knew it. I knew it. And like, he come down and like, I don't know. Long story short, I'm always in favor of playing, but some guys, you got to think of who.
Was he Cam Whitmore just pulling out the open gym moves, just cross over?
Are you laughing at my like audacity to do that?
You're right. He should play. You're right.
I try not to do that, but because what the hell do I know? I didn't play college ball even, but I do believe in playing, and I think that like you got to kind of think about who's the most at risk. I guess I was trying to look at like the pattern among the guys who did play who suffered, and it's like usually it's guys who come into the college game as like super athletes. Like we pointed out JD Davison. Trayvon Duval is another guy that I pointed out that was like a really respected recruit. And at the college level, we saw his warts. Like if you have struggle like with the other aspects of the game, like if you're super fast but you can't dictate pace with like your scoring ability, like if like all those things are interconnected.
I hated watching Duval.
He was rough.
Can't stand him.
Yeah. And you, like Davison was a similar thing, highly rated. I remember like the Instagram reels for him were just like crazy. Everybody's like, oh my God, JD Davison. what they got going on down there in Alabama? And it was like, and then he comes in and he ended up going to the Celtics at what pick? I forget. It was an afterthought. I mean, he was a flyer.
Duvall looked like Dwight Howard when he shot the ball.
Yeah.
So bad.
And when Duke got him, I was like, oh man, this team's going to be tough. And then it just didn't work. But I think like things like that like are going to get exposed, like your lack of like ability to shoot the ball, your lack of ability to like have respect on the ball. If that gets exposed, you're at risk if you play. And then there's just feel. Like Brandon Boston kind of looked rough because of his lack of feel, because of his lack. If he hadn't played, I think he would have gone a whole lot higher. I think about like Scal Labissiere. What are your memories of like what worried you about Scal in college?
Well, I was excited to watch him in college, first of all. And he had just no feel. He didn't know how to play. He looked like he was just playing by himself for 18 years, like your friend at the gym.
God, dude, if you watched video of him like in an empty gym, like coming off, I remember the combine, he was like coming off of these curls and a drill and like shooting the ball. He had the prettiest jumper, the prettiest mechanics. It was just like, good Lord, who is this guy? But then you got in the college game, like you didn't know how to play. So those guys are really at risk. I think that the landscape's different. Tell me if you agree or disagree with this. I think the landscape is different today, though, where we can come to correct conclusions, I feel like, without the college sample. Like even if there's mystery, like Sharp, I feel like his tape was really strange. But if somebody like me, and I don't think this was difficult to see. It was, I feel like somebody doing this, like just that's not a real scout, can watch the tape and kind of get a pretty good idea. I don't know. Does it lower the need for college? Does it really matter for somebody like Sharp or for like Garland? Because I feel like Garland probably would have gone there regardless. Like he probably would have gone in the same spot either way. Don't you think?
Probably. Yeah, I would think so. The Garland would have. Maybe he bumps up his stock a little bit. Maybe he goes to 4 or 3 instead of 5. But I think for the most part, yes, you're right. Like you can get a feel for who a guy is by watching them play in FIBA or EYBL and their high school video. Like there's so many different types of competitions and situations and environments and roles that guys are plugged into.
What about like, Jalen Johnson dropped. I feel like if he had played, he wouldn't have gone that far down. I mean, a lot of times it's like things that orbit them, like, wondering about who they are as people, worrying about that. I know like the more Kuminga played, the more people worried about him. Do you think he would have had a chance to get the top pick if he had skipped playing in the G League Ignite?
Probably. Yeah. I think you might be onto something with a guy like Kuminga, because so much of him and the whole reason he even went number 7 for that matter is the fact that this guy is 6'8", long, great athlete. If only he improves as a shooter, right? If only he could do that. Whereas playing in the G League, you kind of saw the feel for the game and some of the poor decisions and some of the blind spots on defense. Like that all popped up seeing him play for the Ignite that year. But he still goes number 7. I wonder how high he would have went otherwise. I don't. If he doesn't play it, does he go ahead of Barnes at 4? I don't think so. Ahead of Suggs at 5, maybe.
He might
depending on, I can't imagine he would have gone any higher than 5.
I think it would have been in the conversation though, because Suggs really rose during the college year, remember? And Barnes kind of, I don't know, they were always kind of neck and neck. And I think the upside play with Kuminga always made people kind of nudge him ahead of Barnes when they were high schoolers. And then when he reclassed, I know, but it was the same thing. I just think if there was any pattern, maybe this is something I could write about or do a video about someday, but if there was any pattern, I feel like exposure of lack of feel is like one of the damning ones that really, like, if you can't play, but it's that it's that don't play and be a hero or like play long enough to become the villain if you're in that situation. Like Sharp, there was a little worry about that with him, but I don't know. We talked about Sharp last week, but that would be kind of my feeling. And so to circle it back, no, I don't think Nick Smith is at risk because I do think his feel is pretty good.